Buddy, long time no see. Let me get everything pulled up here real quick. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm Trucker Todd, as you might have guessed. Tonight, I don't expect to have, or I guess it's afternoon, it's not even night. I don't expect to have a large crowd today. Probably most of you watching this will be watching it on the replay. Lots of things going on. Rob Rossi, that's usually in here, is at a Diamondbacks game. Racing Ray is watching NASCAR. Uh, so a lot of people will be catching it on the replay. As you'll find out in a little bit, one of my good friends had a concussion this week. So he's going to be catching the replay when he feels a little bit better. Didn't get the whole story yet. Says it's really funny. So hopefully he'll call me when he feels better and give me the story. So we got a lot to jump into today. Before I do that, I want to give a shout out to the channel members. We've got 9 of them right now, and there's not a whole lot of benefit to being a channel member other than you are directly supporting the channel. But I appreciate each and every one of them. Hopefully we'll have some content over there soon. Speaking of Robbie Ross, he's the longest standing current channel member, followed by Ramon, who was the original very first channel member we had. Then we got Adam Murley, Mark Ely, another Adam, which I'm not sure if it's the same as Adam Murley or not, Michael, then Trucking with the Fly Rabbit, who had an excellent video today. If y'all hadn't seen it, go check it out. Kind of talking about the market. He left Schneider and went back to F2F, and he talks about that. So he made a lot of good points in his video. If y'all hadn't seen it, go check it out. ROG Ford, ROG Ford, and Lance Calhoun rounds out the 9. Let's get back here. So let's jump into it. It's been a crazy week. Earlier, and I guess it was right after I did my last video, I'm driving down the highway and my truck starts going haywire. I'm getting all kinds of warnings and bells, but nothing's wrong. Saying my air pressure's low, but I've got like 115, 120 pounds of air pressure, all kinds of stuff. So I sent Scott a text message and said, "Hey, can you pull the codes on my truck?" He's able to do that through the ELD. I can pull up general basic diagnostics on the dash of the Freightliner, but he can get me actual code numbers. He pulled the code and sent it to me, and I Googled the code, and it said it could be a wiring harness, it could be an ABS sensor, it said it could also be a bad battery. And you guys remember in the walking around the parking lot video I did that I mentioned that my batteries were getting weaker. I knew that I was going to have to get some batteries soon. So I pulled into a TA, and they did a battery test. I had 2 batteries that were at 100%, and I had 2 batteries that were at 15%. So I obviously needed 2 batteries. I got those 2 batteries on, and it fixed a lot of problems with the truck. It's just shy of $500, like $490 to get those 2 batteries, which I thought was a little expensive, but definitely better to do that than to screw up one of these computers on a truck or something, because you've got electrical fluctuations and things like that. And so I drove down the road, went another couple of days, and it got to where I really needed to get these steer tires taken care of. But more importantly, another issue I had mentioned was the air conditioning had gone out on my truck, and it was super hot. And with me having had a stroke in the past, I don't like to put myself in situations where I get really, really hot. For one thing, it's a safety deal. It makes it hard for me to sleep, but I don't want to risk having another stroke or nothing like that. So this week I got the air conditioner fixed, and I got steer tires put on the truck. That turned out to be almost $2,500. I went to a shop that was going to repair the air conditioner under warranty. I have a $500 deductible. They determined that the repairs would only be 404, so wouldn't need to involve insurance. And they repaired the air conditioner that afternoon, and I didn't even make it out of the parking lot, and the compressor went out on the air conditioner. Now, in their defense, they had told me the air conditioner's getting weak. We think it'll be good for a while, but at some point you're probably going to need a compressor. But they were wrong. I didn't even make it out of the parking lot. So I went to the TA in Commerce City, Colorado, which is basically Denver, and that's where I got the steer tires, and that's where I got the air conditioner fixed. I went cheap on the steer tires, and I know you guys are going to roast me for this. Um, Normally, I like Bridgestone steers, but I had been talking to a guy at a TA at another shop, ironically, the one that had done the batteries a couple of days earlier, and he had told me that he had had a lot of drivers say they had had good luck with the Ironman steer tires, and they're significantly cheaper than Bridgestone, about almost half price. And so I went with the Ironman, and then I got the compressor fixed. The compressor was $500, and that sounded high to me. I don't know if that's a good price or a bad price for a truck compressor, but that sounded a little high to me. And so this was all done on Friday. Grand total between the two shops worked out to just shy of $2,500. That's not counting what I had spent the other 500 at the shop getting the, or 490 getting the batteries. So a $3,000 week in repairs. Now I'm not going to blow smoke at you. I did have to take out a loan to pay for that second set of repairs. I was able to cover the batteries, but I was pretty tapped out, and I needed to get the steer tires, and I had to have air conditioning, and so I took out a loan for the 2490 in repairs, or what, 2460, whatever it worked out to, uh, between those two shops on Friday. Um, as a result, I think you can tell my morale is a lot better than what it was in that walking around the parking lot video. Um, a lot of people called me concerned about me, and I appreciate the concern. I just, we all have good days and bad days, and that day I was a little bit of down in the dumps, and I think it happens to all of us. And it got me thinking, because some of you that called me said, "Hey Todd, I'm going through the same thing. I'm treading water, but I'm not getting ahead. If I have a breakdown, I'm screwed." And that's where I'm at. I'm like, well, I'm driving a 2019. It's got almost 700,000 on it now, and I'm in the same boat. If I had something major gone wrong, I could, it could be the end of me, and I could easily end up in another lease purchase, or being a company driver somewhere, or getting out of trucking altogether. And so it brings up an interesting question: is it time for a change? Every single one of us thought things were going to get better by now. We've been saying it for at least a year. Oh, in a couple of months, it's going to get better. We're just going through a tough time. And there's lots of reasons for it. I've debated some of you on it. I believe the influx of foreign drivers has made the roads less safe, and I believe that it has driven rates down. And I believe that a lot of people entered trucking when the rates were really good, and things were well, and they didn't know what they were doing, and their ignorance, and I don't mean ignorance as a negative thing, I mean ignorance as lack of knowledge of the trucking industry, freight lanes, and things like that, has also driven rates down. Now, also, until recently, diesel was going up. Here lately, it seems like it's coming down a little bit, and that's a little better. But you know, I started thinking, well, what's the common denominator between all these people that are calling me? And every one of them is pulling a dry van, just like I am. And dry van rates are in the tank. And as I watch some of these other channels that they know a lot more about markets and things like that than I do, the one thing I'm noticing is it seems like reefer and flatbed are doing a lot better. Not a lot better, but a little better. And so it brings up the question, is it time to make a change? I've got the truck running right. There was a point I thought maybe the truck's the problem. I have recently spent a lot on repairs. Maybe the truck's the problem. Maybe I need a different truck. I no longer feel that way. I think this truck's fine. I think it's a moneymaker, especially for the next 18 months until I get it paid off, or 19 months, whatever it works out to. So I don't think the truck is the problem. And um, I don't think necessarily that SRO Logistics is the problem. I'll tell you straight up, SRO Logistics is the best place I've ever worked, hands down. I am pulling a dry van here. To the best of my knowledge, he doesn't have any reefers. I do believe he had a flatbed at one time. Um, he and I have talked about maybe me getting a reefer trailer in the past, but um, he kind of feels like that they're more trouble than they're worth. Um, I've always worked for larger companies when I pulled a reefer, and so you still dropped and hooked them out a lot. And a lot of times I didn't have to deal with the maintenance of keeping one consistently for a couple of years or nothing like that. I'd pull it for a week or two, and then I'd drop and hook somewhere and get another one for a week or two. And so um, you guys know flatbed's probably not going to happen for me. Of all of the trucking genres, it's the one I'm least experienced in. I did work for a hot shot company at one time before they went out of business, and I pulled flatbed motorcycles and jet skis and things like that. So I have done some flatbed strapping down. I've never tarped or anything like that. So uh, I probably wouldn't lean towards flatbed. As of reefer, I don't really want to do that because I don't like grocery warehouses. Um, and they're a hassle getting them washed out all the time. And, it's just something else to take care of. Maintenance on the reefer, things like that. However, I don't like stressing out about money and things like that either. And if I could substantially in 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 reefer make more money, then maybe that's something that I want to look at some point. So I don't know if I'm at that point yet. I'm definitely dipping my toes in the water. I've yet to have a conversation with Scott about the potential or lack of potential for exchanging my trailer for a reefer. And I have yet to apply anywhere else that was a reefer carrier. You guys know that these kind of things I weigh the pros and cons of for over time, and I do a lot of research and talk to a lot of people and try to make as informed a decision as I can. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on that. I uh, I just I don't know what to do. My morale is a lot better than it was when I was in Utah for sure, and so I'm definitely looking at some options, and not necessarily outside of SRO, but potentially if if I could work something out with SRO um, to get a reefer, then that might be the way to go, because you can still pull some dry van loads with a reefer. There's a few that'll say no reefers because of the additional weight that the reefer has, but there's a lot that you still can. And so I might be looking at that. I don't know yet, but I know what this title's going to make some of you think. Oh, Trucker Todd's getting out of trucking. I can tell you there's no plans to do that. Um, I really am, and I know some of you don't believe me. I really am happy doing what I'm doing, where I'm at, all of that. Is it perfect? No. Is it the greatest thing ever in trucking? I don't know. I haven't done everything in trucking. It's the best job I've ever had. I like what I'm doing, but I've got to make more money. And even though I'm doing well now, I haven't ran the numbers lately. But it doesn't matter what your numbers are when you have close to $3,000 worth of repairs in a week. It's you're going to feel it. Let's just say that. And we were thinking, I've put a total of 6 drive tires on it, and this is since November. And so you're talking about in 5 months at an average of about 500 a pop. So that's $3,000. And then I had to do an axle seal. And I'm by no means complaining about the truck. These are normal wear and tear items, things that you expect to do. I've done a PM, and again, normal maintenance, normal wear and tear items, and then this other. So I'm probably in the $7,000 to $8,000 range for the last 4 months, about $2,000 a month. Again, not terrible. In normal times, it'd be something you could manage, but with the way the market's been, the way freight's been, it's tough. I'm trying to figure out a way I can do a video and show you one of these load boards and how terrible the rates are, and and without getting myself in trouble. And the problem you run into is a lot of these load boards consider themselves proprietary, and I don't want to get a copyright strike or something like that, or in trouble legally for showing something that I'm not allowed to make public. So if I get to where I can, I will. But I can tell you, there's a lot of loads on there: 75 cents a mile, $1.20 a mile, $1.30 a mile. Whole lot of stuff at $1 a mile. And some of you are going to say, "Well, Todd, when you were at Swift, you pulled a lot of freight for $1.26 a mile." And you would be right, I did. Sometimes it was more than that because they had a sliding pay scale. But I also got a very large fuel surcharge on top of that. Whereas in my current situation, I'm in an 82-18 split. So that means I get 82% of whatever I gross, and the company, SRO Logistics, gets 18%. So just for round numbers, this is nothing specific, but just for round numbers, um, you take $2 a mile. This will make the math easier. At $2 a mile, that would mean uh, SRO Logistics would get 36 cents of that. That would mean I'm getting paid um, $1.64 a mile. Is that right? Okay. Still better than Swift right now with the fuel surcharge. They're probably at 170 something. I don't know what their fuel surcharge is this week. So I'm still 10 cents ahead of them, but that's at $2 a mile. For dry vans, last time I looked, and it was like last week, the national average was around $1.80 a mile, $1.85 a mile, something like that. Now keep in mind that factors in that these short loads, these 50-mile loads that pay $4 or $5 a mile, as well as the 2,000-mile loads that pay 75 cents a mile. So those numbers can be a little misleading, but yeah, this is one of those deals. It's like a pendulum that swings back and forth. There's times when running a mileage contract is a better option, and there's times when running a percentage contract is a better option. What I'm doing, I like because I actually see the rate con before SRO Logistics does. There's absolutely no way to screw me on the rate. I see it. I negotiate it. I agree to it. I actually sign it. So um, if I don't like what I'm getting paid, I don't have nobody to be mad at but me, because I'm the one that negotiated that rate. But there's a lot of places that the company will have their own rate con, and then they'll send the driver one, but it's a doctored one where they took out stuff prior to the driver seeing it. And so I like the transparency and honesty that I experience with SRO Logistics. I like the freedom that I have with SRO Logistics. I'm in a routine, but I just think that right now, with the influx of foreign drivers and with all that's going on in trucking right now, there might be better opportunities outside of pulling a dry van. And I've listed a couple of those, flatbed and reefer. I'm not sure about tanker, especially a food grade tanker. Maybe I have no desire to get my hazmat, and we can't do hazmat loads here at SRO Logistics anyway. So probably not interested in hazmat. Um, but I definitely would reconsider reefer. A lot of people think of me as a dry van driver, but uh, they'd be surprised to know I've probably got more reefer experience than I do dry van experience. Or at worst, it's a 60-40 split. I've probably done about 60% dry van and about 40% reefer since 1996 when I started. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about all this. Let's go back and jump into some of the comments and say hi to some people that's been here for a while. Let's see if I can get this thing to go up. Well, my mouse is doing weird things, folks. First in today was Gary Cook. He says, I'm here listening in Indianapolis, Indiana on a beautiful afternoon. Oh, yeah, I didn't even say where I was at. I am in North Platte, Nebraska at the Loves, and I'm delivering about 7 miles from here at, I believe it's 6 a.m. in the morning. So I'll probably get up about 4:30 in the morning and drive over there and check in an hour early. I'm sure by me saying I'm going to check in an hour early, you guys know where I'm going. Roger Berry. Todd, I'm on home time. Got a concussion midweek. I'm off till next week. Kinda medicated. I'll watch later. Sorry. Hope everyone is doing well. Racing Ray, how are you doing, sir? So Racing Ray's watching NASCAR right now. He'll be in the replay as well. He's doing pretty good. Getting ready. He's leaving Lubbock tomorrow, going on a short mission trip with his church. He'll be gone till like Tuesday or Wednesday. So you guys say a prayer for him, and yeah, he's doing good though. I talked to him last night. And Roger Berry again, got my butt kicked by a deck umbrella. Yes, it was hilarious, but damn, it hurt. Yeah, that I'm not sure about where you're at, but over in all the places I've been, we've had horrible winds. Going across Wyoming, I had several times where there was, 50-mile-an-hour winds and stuff like that, and extremely high gusts. They had warning signs out that if you were under a certain vehicle weight, that the road was closed for you. And so uh, I know concussions are serious, but glad you're not hurt any worse than you are. When you feel better, call me and tell me what happened, especially if it was hilarious. My name is Nobody. Hello, Trucker Todd. Well, hello, Nobody. Thank you for being here. New York Links, you leaving the industry? No, sir, not at all. But maybe dry van. I don't know. Well, I'm definitely weighing my options. Some of you that are in reefer, put a comment. Let me know what your experience has been in reefer lately. Steve Given, freight volumes are way down, especially border volumes. What's going on? That is a great question. I've talked to a lot of people this week, and we're all scratching our heads. Um, the brokers just don't care. I called one this week, and he was $600 under the 30-day average. And I sent him a screenshot and I said, man, you're $600 under the 30-day average. I'm not expecting the whole $600, but can you maybe come up 500 and get close to the 30-day average? I said, diesel's down a little bit. I'm willing to eat a little bit. I just can't eat $600. And he said, nope. He said, if you don't want to haul it for that, he said, I'll have a driver that'll call in a minute and they'll want it just to move their truck. And I said, well, all right, I appreciate it. And as I hung up, I thought, well, that's what the problem is right there. Uh, until drivers are willing to sit in a truck stop and say, hey, I'm not going to pull that, or, well, fine, I'll move to an area where there is freight that pays better. This is what we're going to get, because the second that next driver calls, and I have no doubt he's telling the truth, the next driver that calls and says, yeah, I'll haul it for $600 under the 30-day average. Well, then guess what he's going to tell the next driver after that? Well, I just had a guy that pulled one for that. I don't know why the average shows that. I just had a driver that pulled one for $600 under the 30-day average. So I think that's the problem with with part of why the rates are like they are right now. And I don't know why volumes are down. I think tariffs scared a lot of people, but I mean, they're much ado about nothing. I'll give you an example. They announced this week that uh, they're not going to put any tariffs on most electronics, which that's where your price increases would have came. Cell phones, video games, stereos, TVs. That's where electronics. That's where a lot of our overseas products come from. And so all of this is, and if you've ever read the Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, this is just negotiation. He's a deal maker. He loves making deals. Trade deals are the king of making deals, and he's just trying to get us a better deal. And you know, we love our cheap Chinese products that come into these countries, but we don't think about our farmers when they send stuff to China and they get taxed like 50, 80% in tariffs. And so they can't be competitive. And so what he's doing, the things he's doing right now, and what I'm finding is most of the people, it ain't that they hate the tariffs, it's that they hate Donald Trump. So everything he suggests must be bad because they don't like the big orange man. But what he's doing is just renegotiating all this, where a farmer can sell grain to China and get a fair price for it. It's gonna help the farmers. It's gonna help the ranchers, uh, and it's gonna ultimately help us. Is there going to be some months that we struggle while the transition takes place? Absolutely, but it's going to be worth it. And the stock market's doing what the stock market does. They create a panic so that everybody sells off and the prices come down, and then they buy again and the prices go up and they sell again and they make money. It's just the system's kind of rigged in my opinion. Bobby says, so you going back to used car salesman? I don't have any plans to do that. It's a whole different ball game than when I did it. It's been about a decade since I sold cars, uh, or I'd say, yeah, 9, 10 years since I sold cars, and the world's changed a lot in 9 or 10 years. For one thing, they're harder to sell. New vehicles and used vehicles, but especially new vehicles, are way, way, way overpriced right now. And I believe there's going to be some market correction in the car industry as well. And that's another thing I wanted to mention about the stock market. I heard Kevin O'Leary talking about this in an interview the other day. We're going through a market correction right now, and it's nothing to panic about. Market corrections occur about every 18 months, according to Kevin O'Leary. And so um, I believe the automotive industry needs to have one too. When pickups are $100,000, and in the 70s, a pickup was one of the cheaper vehicles you could buy. It was a work vehicle, but they've crammed so much technology and luxury in these new cars that they're unaffordable. The average price of a new vehicle is like $48,000 right now, and that's more than a lot of families can do. You finance that for 60 months, and you're talking about, depending on your interest rate, you could be looking at a car payment of close to $1,000 a month. You go get you $100,000 pickup, and you could be looking at 1,800 a month, and that's just not sustainable for Joe Sixpack that makes $20 an hour and works 40 hours a week. And that's the kind of people you need to have buying cars. The rich are still going to get their vehicles. Um, the six-figure income people are still going to get their vehicles, but the people that make 40 to 80,000 a year, that's the ones you lose in the market, and that's the ones you need. Steve says those Iron Man are Chinese knockoffs, but they won't be cheap for much longer with the new tariffs being implemented. Yeah, he told me they come from Thailand, but I get what you're saying. They're an Asian tire. Um, I knew what I was getting into. I'll tell you my philosophy behind it. If this truck had 100,000 miles on it and I thought I would be keeping it for 4 or 5 years, then absolutely I would have wanted Bridgestone, Michelin, something like that. But this is a truck that realistically I'm probably going to keep 18 to 24 months, and then I'm going to trade it off and get something much, much newer. And so for that reason, I just need something that'll go 18, 24 months, something like that. And no sense putting a whole bunch of money in tires for something like that. But yeah, um, that TA guy was telling me about all the drivers that have said good things about him, and I thought, man, I think I can get 18 months out of a set, and that was my strategy behind it. But yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying and agree with you to a large degree. Dirty Diesel, I have a set of iron head drives that have 25, 30 seconds tread left, and I've had them for 80,000 miles. On drives, I've been getting those double coins at Love's, and I know same thing. Some of you are going to say terrible things about them. I've had really good luck with them. They're cheap, and they seem like a very durable, reliable tire. I'm not sure what the rolling resistance is on them or how efficient they are. They've got a really deep tread pattern on them, and yeah, I've had really good luck with the double coin drives at Love's. Now I do like Michelin and Bridgestone normally as well. Same thing. This truck is 18 to 24 months in my mind, and so I just want something that'll run that length of time, and then I'll trade it off if I last that long. Uh, it's been scary lately, folks. I ain't gonna lie. Mac T says, "Hey Todd, it's approaching that time of year where roads will be full of tourists with their campers, and they will flood the truck stops." Yeah, I'm already seeing that, and they it's frustrating. Go into a truck stop and try to buy a mud flap and see how hard it is to find one. Usually, if the truck stop doesn't have a shop out back, you can't find a mud flap. Sometimes they don't have headlights. Sometimes they don't have tail lights. Just basic stuff, bungee cords, um, blank bill of ladings, just things that what you and I would consider basic trucking necessities. A lot of the truck stops don't have anymore, but they've got little knickknacks. They've got shot glasses that say what state you're in. They've got furry toys for the kids, remote control cars. And so you notice a lot of them don't call themselves truck stops anymore. They say travel centers. And it's frustrating. You go in there and You got to wait in line. It's like being at Walmart. And so I try to stay out of truck stops as much as I can. I'm looking for a grocery store or a Walmart right now so I can restock my fridge and just keep eating off the truck. Steve Given, what is your average mileage rate in dry van? So, generally speaking, somewhere in the 220 to 250 range. Depends on where I'm at and where I'm going. There's a lot of factors in there. Um, I try to never dip below $2 a mile. I have dipped down to 190 or so a couple of times, but um, that's really a loaded question depending on where you're at, where you're going, things like that. It seems like nowadays you have to have money to make money or you're just spinning your tires. Um, it's definitely like playing the game of Monopoly. When you start Monopoly, you start with $1,500. But if you ever start Monopoly and give everybody $3,000 instead of 1,500, the game will last significantly longer. And same thing's true in trucking. Um, the problem with most of us, myself included, is I've started a lot of companies broke or close to broke, and that makes it really, really tough. Unless you've got a large credit card on standby or something like that. And I've talked to guys about this, and they say, "Well, Todd, I'm going to a big company. They're giving me a new truck. I don't need to have a big maintenance account." And I would disagree with that. I think I think you do have because I mean, when I was at Dart, I knew guys that broke down on their first trip out of orientation, and Dart usually took care of them. They'd put them in a hotel. They'd give them some kind of breakdown pay or layover pay, or they'd swap them into another truck. But it's the more money. You know, people ask me all the time, how much money should I start with? And I say as much as you can. And if you've got $10,000, that's better than if you've got $500. And if you've got $50,000, that's better than if you got 10,000. Um, it's not a good idea to start broke. And I say this: when I was at Dart, there was one driver that he went to orientation. He didn't even have money for food at the hotel, and so I called the recruiter and told him about the guy, and the recruiter gave him what they called vouchers where he could eat during orientation, almost like food stamps for orientation. And so, not the way you want to start because what happens if his first load out he breaks down and he's got to be in a hotel for 2 or 3 days? Then he's going to need more vouchers or cash advances, and then when he gets out, he's even further in the hole. And they usually give you, you know, a couple of weeks with no truck payment. That's when you're hoping to be nest egging money. But if you're broke down, you're not nest egging anything. So yeah, it's always been that way, and not just in trucking, but in any business. Uh, it takes money to make money. The more money you've got, the easier it is to make money. You can pull yourself up by your bootstraps and start with no money, but you're counting on a lot of things, a lot of stars to align in your favor when you do that. Maybe you need to start running in the Midwest, stay away from the West Coast. That's my opinion. Uh, so I don't run the West Coast at all. We can't go to California or Oregon. Don't run the West Coast at all. I do run Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, just because out of where I live, a lot of times that's the best paying loads. I do also run a lot of Texas, and I go to the Midwest when I can. But the problem is, if you go to all the places where everybody else goes, you have the same problem. There's 500 trucks competing for a few good loads, and there's no parking, and there's toll roads, and so each each area has its pros and cons, and it's constantly changing. Um, the Midwest recently cooled off a lot, and I think it's starting to rebound now. But yeah, absolutely. When it makes sense to run over there, I do run over there. I looked it up the other day. I believe I've got 12 load boards that I regularly look at and compare. And I watch a lot of market stuff to see what areas to run into and what areas to stay out of and things like that. Also, weather is a factor. I factor in weather, and they've had a lot of bad weather over in the Midwest recently, and that slows people down. Michael, channel member, says, "Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for being here." Steve says, "Reefer rates are better, but the wait times really hurt and cost you as you ain't making money sitting." Yeah, I remember that. That's one of the reasons I don't like grocery warehouses. I don't like the appointments at 2 or 3 in the morning. Um, and you know, as I just mentioned, we don't run California or Oregon here at SRO, so that's where a lot of reefers go to. A lot of the reefer loads run up to the Northeast. I don't like going in the Northeast, but I don't like the stress I felt when I was in Utah either. So that may be something to consider. Um, as far as the wait times, I still go to grocery warehouses, sometimes pulling a dry van, and I haven't noticed them being terrible lately, but I could definitely see you waiting a little more. Also, with a reefer load, the loads are a lot heavier, generally speaking, and so you've got that as well. There's definitely some pros and cons, and I'm not saying for sure that that's the way to go, but I'm just kind of researching ways to for things to improve until the economy gets a little better. I got to take a drink. I'm losing my voice. Lance Calhoun, channel member, all my prices just went up, even if you don't know it. There you go. Yep, that's you know, it at the bare minimum, and especially if you're using the DAT board, that mid tier level one, it shows a 30-day average, and then if you do the higher tier one, I think it shows a 7-day average. I'm on that middle tier deal, and it shows a 30-day average. Just when you're negotiating with these brokers, try to at least hold to the 30-day average or slightly above that. Because if you don't, then the next guy that calls in, he's going to say, "Well, I just got off the phone with a guy. He thought it was a good rate. He's hauling it for that." And it just knocks your legs out from under you. But um, if you call them and they're like, "Yeah, we've had several people that are bidding about what you're bidding," and I'm like, "Well, that should tell you that your rate's too cheap. If all these drivers are thinking the same number and you're $400 under that, maybe you need to go up a little." And I don't tell them that. You have to be diplomatic, but that's what I'm thinking, and I'm hoping they get there. Vehicles are going up and they won't be coming down under the new tariff scam. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think vehicles are eventually going to have to come down because they're pricing themselves out of the market. Tariffs. Look, a lot of stuff comes from Canada and Mexico, and we're going to strike a deal with Canada and Mexico. So it may mean that our Chinese parts go to Canada first and then they come to the United States, or something like that. There will be workarounds, there will be negotiations. We're killing the Chinese economy right now. And and so there's going to be a deal struck there. Like I said, if all that happens is we go to a net zero or a 10% tariff, what that does for American farmers and American ranchers and American small businesses is going to help our economy and trucking so much. So these car prices were going up way before tariffs. They've been going up the last few years, and so we can't blame tariffs. That's what I say. Tariffs are getting a bad rap for a lot of things. They've only been in effect. The ones that are in effect have only been in effect for a couple of weeks now, and so they haven't really had time to take. And the big ones that we would have felt in our pocket, like on electronics, they're not even tariffing those things. So this is going to all work out. This is just a big negotiation. We've got the right guy in the White House for this. This is something that, quite frankly, none of the other politicians on either party had the gonads to do. And since he's going to be a one-termer, he's got the gonads to do it, and he's got the public support to do it. Generally speaking, most of the country supports what he's doing right now. Lance Calhoun, channel member, Kevin O'Leary would not invest in any Shark Tank company unless he could do the manufacturing in China. Well, you have to think about that. He is um, an investor. His job is to make money and to work the system with whatever system rules are at the time. At the time he's doing Shark Tank, of course he's going to make stuff in China. It's going to, because of the tariffs that China puts on American products, and because of the way things were, the way we were doing with them, it made sense to make things over there. With the way things are changing now, I think you might see him switch and want things American made. But you can't fault a guy for doing uh, what's best for their business with the rules as they are. We do the same thing. I'll bet you every truck driver in here takes advantage of every tax benefit they can get. You take your per diem, you write off your fuel, you write off your truck payment. Why? Because it's financially advantageous to your business to do that. And Kevin O'Leary's no different. He's going to do what he thinks will make him the most money. And he realizes long term that uh, these trade deals that are taking place are going to be um, are going to be good for the economy. All right, there we go. Trade it. Good luck. No, no plans to trade it right now. It's silly to fix all this stuff if I'm just going to trade it off. So the 3,000K repair bill broke your maintenance account? No, that's not what I said. That's why I love doing these videos. I love how you guys take what I say out of context and twist it to what you would like it to say. I think I said I spent about $8,000 in the last 4 months, and my finances were getting low, so I took out a loan for the repairs. I think I also talked about the market and how everybody was struggling right now. But I will guarantee, Brian, I'd like to know more about you. What do you do? I'm going to guess you're a company driver or not in trucking at all, because quite frankly, that's a stupid question and a stupid comment. I'm sorry. I normally don't like to say things like that, but that's really a bad question. Steve, you should look at getting some contract freight and get away from the load boards as much as possible. Contract freight is paying 20 to 30% more. Yeah, I agree with you. I have the closest thing you can really get to it, and what I'm doing, I have brokers that call me about loads even before they end up on the load board. Um, Contract freight, I haven't been able to really set that up too well, doing what I'm doing where I'm at. But yeah, if the opportunity presents itself, I'll definitely look at doing that. All right, let's get down here. Hey, Robbie Ross is here. I thought he was at a Diamondbacks game. He says he will watch the replay later on. Thanks for dropping in, man. With with the $20, I appreciate you being here today. Uh, if any of you others want to do that, there's a little dollar sign down by the by where you put your comment. There's also the option to gift channel memberships or get a channel membership yourself if that's something you're interested in. It's a little bit harder to do if you're on an iPhone. You have to do it on a regular browser, from what I'm told. Nicholas Earl. Hey, Todd. Hey, Nicholas. Thanks for being here. And there's Robbie Ross, who's a moderator and a channel member. Says hello from Chasefield and Phoenix. Back on the road to Menominee tomorrow. Good deal. Glad you could drop in right quick. The Right Way to Truck says, hey, Todd. Hey, Right Way to Truck. Thank you for being here today. So we're caught up on all the comments. While y'all are typing your questions, your comments, things like that, like I said, we've had a lot more people here than what I was expecting. I normally don't do Sunday videos, and I didn't really announce it or nothing. And so to have as many as we got, it was great. There was a NASCAR race that come on at the same time, so that took a lot of people out. But I appreciate all of you being here. I know we're going to catch a lot more in the replay. Nicholas, I just had a stroke in the truck about 3 weeks ago. Figured I'd stop in and say hi. Oh man, how are you doing? Are you recovering? Uh, Tell us more. What, if you're comfortable saying in here, tell us what happened. For those that don't know, I had one. I had multiple ones, about 15 minor ones in one day, about 13, 14 months ago. On March 14th, I was at my son's shop, and my oil pan had a crack in it, and I was underneath the truck repairing it, and I was the only one there. I was there alone by myself, and my son pulled up, and I got out to say hi to him, and my arm was kind of numb, and I thought I had just laid on it wrong under the truck. And my son thought I didn't look good. He's like, "Why don't you go inside and sit in front of the air conditioner?" And I went in, sat down, and he brought me some water. And he didn't like the way I was looking. He said, "I think you need to go to the hospital." I was like, "No, I'm fine. My arm's just asleep." And so I sat there a few more minutes and got tired of him nagging me. And I said, "All right, I'll go to the doctor. I'll drive myself." He's like, "No, you're not driving. I'm going to take you." So he took me to the hospital there in small town that he lives in. And they thought I was just dehydrated at first. They gave me, a couple of bags of IVs, and I was still kind of slurring and not talking right. And they said, well, we're gonna do some additional tests. And then next thing I knew, they were trying to get a helicopter for me because this is just a small town hospital, and they couldn't get the helicopter there quick enough. And Lubbock's about 30 miles away, and Lubbock Hospital said they were full, they couldn't take me, so they were going to send me to Midland, Odessa area, and they determined that they could get an ambulance there quicker than they could get a helicopter there, and so they took me down there on an ambulance. Something I don't think I've ever revealed in a video is something went wrong on the ambulance, because I heard the nurse when we were about 20 miles out tell the driver of the ambulance to go lights on. I forget the term she used. She basically told him to blow the red lights and get me there as quick as possible. So something she saw on the ambulance made her nervous. Didn't make me nervous. I didn't have a clue what was going on. But I spent, I think it was 5 days down there, and they were amazed. Even later that night, I still had arm movement and everything. Uh, I was talking, I could grip everything, but they showed a scan of my brain, and there was little flashes, and they said each of those flashes represented a stroke, and there was like 15 of them, and they were in pretty rapid fire. And I've thought about it and tried to figure out what caused it. It had to be stress. Um, I push myself pretty hard. Anybody that knows me personally will tell you that Uh, I take on a lot, sometimes more than I should, and I think it just caught up with me. And but I'm fine now. I've been cleared by a neurologist. I've been cleared. I still stutter. I've been cleared by a cardiologist, and I don't have any after effects. I mean, I still get headaches sometimes, but we all get headaches sometimes. That's that's nothing. But yeah, so I'm curious. I said all that to say I'm curious to know how you're doing. Bobby says the haters will always hate. That guy probably works at the 7-Eleven convenience store. You're probably right. I uh I don't know. You know, it's in a way what he's saying is true, but it's true of all of us. You don't know until it happens. Every single one of us out here saves as much as they can and prepares for that day because we never know when it's coming. And it you know, you can have. I knew a guy. He had, I think it was $25,000 in the bank, and he blew through it in a matter of months. And I'm sure before he started having his issues, he thought 25,000 would be plenty. And so um, it's just funny to me some of the stuff people say. It's easy to play armchair quarterback after the fact, like Mike Tyson says. Everybody has a plan till you get punched in the mouth. It's very true. You think you've got an uh, well, you know you don't have enough because there's never enough. There's repairs that can be 40 or $50,000, but you hope you have enough for whatever comes along. And all you can do is save at full speed and hope you're ready the next time something hits, and have a backup plan if it don't. That you can take out a loan like I did. That you have a warranty like I have. I've uh, I've made a lot of reasonable efforts to protect myself, but I mean, eventually you get punched hard enough that you go down. Hey, Skyline's here. Hey, Todd. I'm here speaking about spending money. I replaced my flywheel and clutch on my truck. Oh, and also I decided to replace all my shocks as well. Luckily, I was prepared. Well, that's good. Yeah, this truck, when I got it, they had just replaced the shocks on it. So shocks are good. Um, I need to get an alignment, and I'm probably going to do that tomorrow. There's a Southwest Tire across the street, and I'm going to go talk to them tomorrow after I deliver this load and see if they can align it. Nicholas says, I'm recovering. I don't remember much about it. I'm just recovering best I can. So, another thing for truck drivers, the recommendation after you have a stroke is that you don't drive for a year. However, the actual rule is 6 months. So, if you can get a doctor, it actually takes three: your personal doctor, your cardiologist, and a neurologist. If you can get them all three to sign off on you after 6 months, you can come back, and that's what I did. You've also got to have a company that's willing to take you. Um, B&Z was willing to take me as I didn't have a truck, and so not a great company, but they were okay where I went. And then as soon as I was able to get a truck, I came back to SRO Logistics. And by the way, if any of you are interested in SRO Logistics, it's safety at srologistics.com, and it's in the little ticker at the bottom of the screen as well. Steve says that code she gave him to go lights on and run the red lights is code 3 lights and sirens. Yeah, she called it something that was a lot cooler sounding, but I remember I was trying to text people and I couldn't see my screen real well, and I kept dropping my phone, and so I know I was having some problems, but I don't think that's what set her off. There's something she checked, and that when she checked it, she's like, "All right, we need to hurry." Gary Cook, nobody is ever prepared for the unexpected and hope it never happens. Well, it's that's a great point, Gary. And here's what I'd say too is I've said this in a few videos, and it's really true. We're all, I say all, most of us are one major breakdown away from being done. And what I mean by that is you can have a substantial amount of money saved up. You can have $25,000, $30,000 in the bank. You go in the shop and they say, hey, that part's on back order for 6 months. You're done. None of you have enough money to sustain yourself and your trucking business, truck insurance, and all of that for 6 months while you wait on a part. You go in and they say, hey, you've got catastrophic engine failure. It's $40,000. As I had happen on an international at Roadrunner, it'll be at least a month to 2 months. Well, they told me 1 to 3 months to fix it. I'd had the truck 2 weeks with Roadrunner. And Roadrunner's like, no, we're going to sell this truck back to the people we bought it from, and we'll get you another truck. And so I came out of that deal good. I actually got a better truck. I went from a 15 International to a 16 Volvo. That was several years ago. That was a good deal back then. And so every one of us, no matter how prideful we are, no matter how much we want to put down another truck driver, if we're one major breakdown away from being done. And I mentioned there's a driver that I know that she was at a truck stop parked like I am right now. Somebody backed into the hood of her truck, and she was in the shop for over 3 weeks getting the hood replaced. Now, it didn't wipe her out. Things got pretty slim for her. I think she was eating a lot of bologna sandwiches and beans, but that could have very easily wiped a lot of us out. The people that make those comments don't realize what the overhead is, and they don't realize a lot of that stuff's on ACH deduction, and I usually have something nearly every day of the week hitting my account. Some of it's trucking related, some of it's not, but there's stuff that comes out every week. Some of it's YouTube related, but yeah, if my revenue stream were to come to a complete halt, the well would dry up quicker than you might think. And the people that say that, they don't have a revenue stream. They go work a 40-hour job, they go home, and in some ways that's better, and in some ways that's worse. But yeah, it's frustrating. The one box, if it ever goes out on a Freightliner, it'll cost close to $14,000. Yeah, fortunately, I meant to say fortunately, that's covered under my warranty, and so I'd pay a $500 deductible. But again, a lot of times it's not the repair that gets you; it's the downtime. And you know, I think back to that Kenworth I lost, that a lot of trolls have wanted to beat me up over. That truck went in the shop on a Friday morning. We were thinking it was going to be down less than a week. It spent 8 weeks in the shop. Um, Most of the people that are poking fun of me could not pay on a truck insurance and all that stuff for 8 weeks without any revenue coming in. Forget the $7,000 or $8,000 in repairs, or I don't remember what it was. It might have been 5,000. Forget the $5,000 repair. Go 8 weeks without revenue, and so yeah, I could, if the one box went out or any of that def stuff on my truck went out, I could survive the $500 deductible for the warranty. But if they said, hey, one boxes are on back order, it's going to be 3 to 6 months before we can get one, I'm done. It's, I mean, what can you do? All right, we're caught up on the comments. Let me take that off so y'all can see the Trucker Todd deal and read the ticker. While we're giving people a second to type or criticize or whatever they want to do, let me remind everybody to like this video. Give it a thumbs up. It's free to do. Share this video. Send it to your friends. Say, hey, check out Trucker Todd. eventually he's going to start doing Tuesday and Thursday videos again. And when he does, you want to be there. And make sure you subscribe. But after you subscribe, click that bell. It's also, all of these things are free to do. You should do it. And select all. When you do that, it sends you a little notification 30 minutes before these videos come out, so you can get in here and chat with us. And also, I don't mention it very often, but go check out truckertodd.net. There's a lot of great information there. You can find out about my fuel card. I've got a Mudflap link in there. You can get $10 worth of free fuel if you use Mudflap within, I think it's 5 or 10 days of signing up. And so there's a lot of great things there as well. I believe it has a link to my Amazon affiliate link too, where you can see some of the products I use, things like that. So a lot of cool things to check out. Uh, I just read too, I've done 637 videos. I believe this makes 638. Go back and watch some of those old videos if you need a little more Trucker Todd. See how we got to where we're at now. But let's see what we got here. Gary Cook, if the OK comes to delete your emissions, would you do it? I think I probably would if it becomes legal. There's no question that trucks are more efficient now than they've ever been. The problem is they can't breathe because of all this emissions stuff that's on them. So trucks would be far more efficient and far more reliable if we got all this emissions stuff off. Um, Obviously, there'd be some other factors. I'd have to make sure it doesn't void my warranty. I'd have to look at cost and see if it's worth doing it or just riding this truck out till it's paid off when I'm planning to trade it off anyway. But I would definitely have to do some calculations, because if I did delete it, would I want to trade it off or would I want to keep driving it? So, but yeah, generally speaking, definitely, if I had like a diesel pickup or something, I would definitely delete it just as soon as I could. Bobby says, I had a massive heart attack in 2021 in a commercial vehicle. Don't remember any of it, but will never have driver's license again. Heart doctor said no, just the cards I was dealt. Oh man, that's tough to hear. Um, what are you doing now that you can't drive no more? And is that just a commercial driver's license you can't have, or can you not have like a Class C car driver's license either? Steve says, is teaming an option for you? Probably not for a lot of reasons. I've had a lot of people that wanted me to train them, and the only time I've ever teamed was when I was going through training in '96 when I got my CDL, and I had the best trainer you could ever have. Great guy, but at the end of 6 or 8 weeks, however long training was, we were ready to go our separate ways. And so I have trouble sleeping when a vehicle's moving. I have trouble putting trust in people like that. And I've got a lot of stuff on the truck, cameras, tripods, gimbals, things like that. I carry jumper cables. I've got tire socks. I've got all kinds of stuff on here. And so it's not something I've ever considered doing. Also, as open as my life is and as much of it as y'all see, I'm really kind of a shy, private person. And I have a lot of conversations on the truck that are personal, with family, with friends, with viewers. And I want to keep that as well. As far as SRO logistics, as long as the driver got approved through their process, I'm sure he'd be fine with me teaming. But it's just something I've never wanted to do. For a long time, I had a CPAP machine that used water for the humidifier, and so I worried about it sloshing water in the CPAP machine and shorting out. Now I've got a travel size CPAP machine that it uses these little filter things, and it takes the carbon dioxide when you exhale and converts it into moisture to moisturize the air coming into your nose. So I could probably team, but it's not something I've actively thought about doing. And I got a truck with almost 700,000 miles on it. Those miles would climb pretty rapidly if I was teaming. Trucker Chris says, "Hello, my friend. Hey, Trucker Chris, how are you doing?" Take another drink. I can feel my voice going. So, generally speaking, without it spilling anybody's business, I've had a lot of people call me lately, and they're kind of, in the same boat I am. They need to do something, don't know what to do. The first thing they always ask me is, do I recommend a company? And yeah, SRO Logistics. Outside of that, I don't have anybody else that I recommend right now. But I realize some people can't get a truck. I realize some people don't want to get a truck. And so I don't have any backups, any alternatives right now. I've had people ask, should I go reefer? Should I go flatbed? Should I haul hazmat? Should I go to Canada? And all of those are personal choices. It's kind of like calling me and asking me, should I marry this girl? It I don't know. Like my dad used to say, I don't have to live with her. If she makes you happy and you're happy, then marry her. And I'd say the same thing about trucking. I might hate Super Ego. I might think Super Ego is the worst trucking company there is. You might go there and love it. And so I'm not going to tell you to not go there. I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of people that don't succeed there. I'm going to tell you some things I've heard about it. I'm going to tell you to do a lot of research, but I would tell you those things with pretty much any company. And then it's going to be your decision. And I'm not going to call you names or make fun of you, but yeah, it's the same thing here. It's everybody's trying to figure out how to weather this storm, and everybody's panicking because just like we talked about maintenance and repairs, it wouldn't take a lot to wipe most of us out right now. Uh, if I couldn't have took out a loan for that 2,500 repairs that day, and it ain't over yet, I got to get an alignment done. But if I hadn't been able to take out that loan, I'd have been driving till I blew a steer tire or had a heat stroke, and then I would have been done, or hopefully I would have saved up enough that I could have recovered from that. And so it's everybody's in the same boat right now. Some of us are too prideful to admit that we're struggling. Hey, I talked to a guy this week that owns a trucking company, and he was telling me that he's having a tough time right now. And we know this even without him telling me because uh, we see trucking companies closing their MCs every week, and the last couple of weeks we've seen an uptick, and so maybe there's some optimism there that things are going to get better. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you it wasn't tough right now. But my morale is a lot better than it was when I was in Utah. So let not your heart be troubled. This too shall pass. By the way, I've decided at the end of all my videos, I'm gonna start saying, "Y'all have a good night," because people that aren't from the South, it irritates the crap out of them. And so, stay tuned to the end of the video, and I'll say, "Y'all have a good night." Steve says, "Canada, that's all ice road trucking up there." Yeah, I've seen some super good loads that go to Alaska. I wish I could do one of those. But I talked to Scott about it, and he said, "Yeah, Todd, but when you get up there, you have to deadhead back." Well, one of them I saw was $36,000, and one of them was $18,000. I'm like, Scott, even if I had to deadhead back, it'd still be a good rate. He said, well, sometimes it takes a couple of weeks to get back, and so you might chew up your whole month up there. And so all of those things may be true. I don't know. I've only been to Canada once. I don't have a passport, so I couldn't go now anyway. I've never been to Alaska. Always wanted to go, and so everything he said may be true. I don't know, but that I saw that rate and I was like, dang, that'd be fun to do. All right, we're caught up again. We still got 27 people in here, which is kind of impressive. I think I've made a few people mad, and so they're not commenting anymore. But if y'all got something you want to talk about, or if you want to tell me about your week, throw it in the comments below, and we'll get to it. Don't forget, you can also email me. It's in the ticker. I'm Todd at truckertodd.net. Shoot me an email. Let me know what's going on, how I can help you, and we'll go from there. Let's see if is there anything else I'm forgetting to tell you guys and gals. If we don't get some comments, we'll probably check out of here pretty quick. So because I knew that my batteries were weak on the truck, I carried some jumper cables up in the front passenger floorboard, just in case I ever had to boost myself off, especially like when I was on home time or something. And now that I've got the batteries, I mean, I slept last night without running the truck at all. Now that I've got the batteries, I don't feel like I need to have the jumper cables out. So I'm going to put them under the bunk and throw some trash away. And then I got to go to bed fairly early tonight so I can get up early in the morning for that delivery. But we'll talk as long as y'all got something on your mind. Nicholas Earl says, thank you. Yes, sir. The right way to truck. I just had an EGR valve done. Still needs tires and other things done. It's rough. Yes, sir. I appreciate your honesty. Um, I don't think people that don't have a truck or have never had a truck understand just how expensive stuff is. I mean, I mentioned that the compressor was $500. That doesn't include the evac and recharge and the freon and all the labor and the tires. It's pricey, and these shops. I've mentioned this in other videos. The mechanics get paid commission based on what they sell, so they're not incentivized to try to save you money. They're incentivized to run the ticket up as much as they can because they make more money. And so you really got to scrutinize everything and make sure you're not getting ripped off. Also, if you guys didn't see it on the community post, that first shop I was at, they had a barbecue grill there that was made out of a Chevy engine, but it had Ford stickers on it. Also, if you're on the Trucker Todd Facebook, you can go see it there as well. It's pretty neat looking, but they're supposed to be calling me tomorrow. They're considering giving me a full refund of the $404 since my air conditioner didn't even make it out of the parking lot and I had to pay to rehab the work done. I'll be surprised if they do the right thing. They were having to get upper management to approve it, but hopefully they'll give me a percentage of that back or part of it back or something like that. But I'll update y'all and let you know how that turns out in a future video. Bobby says, I went back to my job after a year off. Someone picks me up, was there 15 years before the event. Now I'm a helper making same money and I'm grateful. Oh, that's great. Like a construction helper or plumbing, something like that, electrician helper, something like that. That's great. We've got in Lubbock, they just built a Leprino cheese factory And I got to tell you, if I couldn't drive a truck anymore, it pays like 21 or $23 an hour. I'd be tempted to go work out there, and I think I could make it on that. I would scale my life back a little bit. I wouldn't have two cell phone lines and all the stuff I got now, but I think I could live on that and be around family a lot more and all of that. I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can, though. I like doing this, but when I heard that, I was like, man, that's not a bad deal. And in Lubbock, that's a great wage. I realize some of you are going, oh, no way I'd do that. That's terrible where I live. But the cost of living in Lubbock's so low that that'd be a great wage. Um, and and something else I've said in a lot of videos, it's always good to have a backup plan. I uh, I haven't gave it a lot of thought until recently, but if Scott called me from SRO Logistics and said, Todd, I just don't want to do this no more, uh, what would I do? What would my backup plan be? And it's always good to have one. It's tough when you work at the best job you've ever had. You don't tend to think like that. You don't think, well, I might leave here, or if I had to leave here, where would I go? I can tell you if it happened, I do have a backup plan, but a lot of people don't. I feel sure that if he, and I'm just using him as an example, I don't have any inside knowledge. Let's call it ABC Trucking. If ABC Trucking called me and the other drivers of the company and said, "Hey, we're going to shut our doors at the end of May. May 31st is your last day." I bet 80% of the drivers would have to scramble to find a job. They wouldn't have a backup plan. Me, I'd have to make one phone call, and uh, that's not me bragging. That's not anything like that. But uh, even with all my misfortune, I've still got options. I still get recruited even without ever filling out an application. And I'm not bragging. You guys do too. A lot of you get calls and emails every day saying, "Hey, come work here," and so that's a good position to be in. I've had brokers call me and offer me jobs. They're like, "Hey, we got this company over here. Would you like to come work for us?" And no, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Gary Cook, is Scott driving too? Yeah, he's got a truck. He's got a yellow Volvo. I've shown it in a couple of videos. I love his truck. It's got an APU on it and everything. It's a higher mileage truck, but it's a very nice truck. And he has, I guess, what would be the equivalent of a contract load that he pulls up to West Virginia, and then he's got a backhaul he does that comes back to Mississippi where he lives. And then when they don't have a load for him or something, he'll run the spot market too. He generally gets home on the weekends and then runs through the week. That's something he's had for a few years that he set up. But um, yeah, that's I would tell you that's one of the great things about working for him is the fact that he's still a driver. When I call him and go, "Hey Scott, it sucks out here," he goes, "Yeah, it does," and he's not just being empathetic. He knows because he drives too. Um, when I say, "Hey, I'm frustrated, my truck's broke down," he knows because he's been frustrated when his truck breaks down. And so I would say that's probably some of the bigger advantages of working for a smaller company where the owner still drives is, they're in the same boat you're in to a large degree. Hey, Ted Van Buskirk is here. Yes, sir. How are you doing? All right, folks, we're at that part of the video where I got to remove my hat. I'm not idling the truck, and it's getting hot in here. So you may see my shiny head. You'll have to forgive me for that, but it's getting warm in here. Or I'm going to have to go crank the truck, and you'll see the laptop vibrate a little. whatever y'all would rather have happen. I'm not bald, by the way. I just have really fine hair. And I keep it really short. I do a 0 on the sides and a 3 up top. So if you ever want to duplicate my haircut, go to your favorite barber. Tell them 0 on the sides and 3 up top. Ted Van Buskirk says he's doing okay. That's good to hear. I hadn't talked to you in a while. I've been wondering about you. There's several of you that I've been meaning to call and just hadn't had a chance to do it. I've been, when this stuff's going on, and I'm talking about truck issues. Some of you have mentioned truck issues you're having right now. You just don't feel like making videos. You don't feel like articulating. You're like, man, I'm dealing with a lot of crap right now, and I got to figure out how I'm going to get through it. And so when things are rolling good and everything's going fine, then yeah, you feel like doing videos. So I hadn't forgot about anybody or calling anybody, but I don't want to bring anybody down. I don't want to call Ted if I'm having a bad day and make Ted have a bad day, or Gary or any of the others of you. So uh, I wanted to wait till things are like they are now. My morale's a lot better. I can see a lot at the end of the tunnel, and so it's funny. I was talking to a guy this week. He said, man, I thought in February we were turning the corner and things were going to get better. I said, well, we did turn the corner. We just got punched in the face. Deontay Butler says he's checking in. Hope all is well. Yes, sir. It's good to see you again. I get so nervous when these clowns back in beside me. Um, uh, I may have to go honk the horn in a minute. So far, so good. I think he's got it. Okay. P.U. Patel says, good evening, Todd. Are you thinking of hanging up the keys? No, sir. Um, we were talking about, I pull dry van, and the dry van rates have been really terrible lately. And we were talking about reefer and flatbed and some of the other options in trucking, maybe contract freight, dedicated freight, things like that, to try to get revenue up, try to get things better. I've spent about $3,000 in the past week on repairs, and a little over 8,000 since I got the truck in November, mid-November, which is not. I would call that a moderate amount. There's definitely some of you out here that spent more in that time frame. Definitely some of you out here that spent less, but it's been pretty taxing in this market and in this economy. And so I'm just looking at other options within trucking that might be an opportunity to increase revenue. Not necessarily even leaving Scott. I was mentioning that he and I have talked about possibly doing a reefer with SRO Logistics at some point. He feels like they're more trouble than they're worth, and he may be right. There's a lot of things I don't like about reefer, um, and I do believe he had one flatbedder at once. I don't think my health, even though I've lost 80 something pounds, I don't think I'm healthy enough to do flatbed, to throw tarps and chains and all of that. I'm definitely too clumsy to do it. So I would think it'd have to be tanker or uh, reefer, something like that. But I'm just looking at other options. Obviously, SRO Logistics is going to be the first company I factor into that. I would look for opportunities where I could stay working here and do that. And only as a last resort, as a nuclear option, would I consider going to another company. If you hadn't seen my video I did where I was walking around in Utah, I was really depressed and down in that video, and I'm a lot more optimistic now. My morale's a lot better, and so now I'm in fix-it mode. I've done my whining and complaining, so it's now how do we fix this? How do we move forward? How do we make things better? Electric. Oh, yeah. So Bobby is an electric helper. That's a great job from what I hear. Gary Cook is doing power only an option for you. Yeah, I can do power only even now with SRO Logistics. You can actually do power only all the time. I could drop my trailer in a secure location and do power only. I've looked at doing some around the house sometimes. Sometimes some of the larger carriers will have a power only to Dallas or something. Um, I just got to be careful when I do them that it's either a round trip type deal or that I can find another power only to get back to my trailer. But yeah, I could turn this trailer in and do power only 100% of the time if I wanted to. Does SRO take a percent? This is Steve again. He says, does SRO take a percent or is it fixed deductions? So a little bit of both. I do an 82-18 split with SRO Logistics. I get 82%. He gets 18. And then like plates is once a year. I can get my own plates from Texas or I can get them through him. I got them through him right now, and I pay those back over an 8-week period on Mondays. I've disclosed in other videos that I have my truck payment deducted and sent to the YouTuber that I bought my truck from. And so uh, that comes out. Let me think. What else? Let me pull a settlement real quick and I'll just look because I don't want to mislead anybody. I pay insurance on my own. It's on an ACH out of my business account. So is occupational accident. It's on. It comes out of my own account, so it wouldn't show on a settlement. Let's see here. If I can see everything. I do rent my trailer for $650 a month. It comes out as a weekly deduction. He covers the maintenance. I rent the trailer. Um, and then fuel comes out, obviously, and that's it that I see on my deductions. All right, we're caught up again. Y'all got any other things you want to talk about tonight? We've been doing good tonight, going about an hour and a half. Yeah, give me a second. I'm going to crank the truck. It is getting a little warm in here. A lot of people don't realize I got a lot of lights on in here. So I've got this one that shines on my face, and then I've got some other lighting in here, and it makes it pretty warm. Give me just a second. Then I can put my hat back on. Y'all won't have to see my bald head. Almost there. Give me just a second longer. I'm sure this is really interesting video just waiting for me to come back. I'm trying to hurry. I just did laundry earlier too, and so I've got laundry to put up later too. All right, now let's get some air back here. And I guess I can put the hat back on to cover up my bald head. And again, it's only bald because I cut my hair short. Gary Cook says, do you still use ES Advantage fuel card? So I still do my strategy. I have ES Advantage, I have Mudflap, and then I got a fuel card with SRO Logistics. Primarily, especially lately, I've been using SRO. I did use Mudflap the other day, and sometimes I use ES Advantage. The problem with ES Advantage, and I've been talking to them about this, is their fees went up a few months ago, and it's not as great of a deal as it was. I'm talking about their loading fees. They've always charged $2.50 when you do a transaction, like when you get fuel, and that was fine because of the savings. But their loading fees are really, really high, like 4.5%, and it works out to where it's still a savings, but I'm not sure it's that much better than what I get using SRO's card, and it's definitely not as good as what I get with Mudflap. So, but I do check all three and try to do whatever the best deal is for me. Right way to truck. What areas are you running? And if you don't mind asking, what are you seeing gross wise per week? Me, it's like 4,000 to 5,000 gross. So really, I'm not restricted to any areas. I just can't run California and Oregon. I try to stay in Texas as much as I can because I usually get pretty good rates. But I run up Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho. I do go to the Midwest when I can. I go to the Southeast when I can. I definitely will, even once a month or once every 2 or 3 months, go to Florida, but I try to stay out of Florida. I hate the Northeast. I try to stay out of there as much as I can. But I'm not one of these guys that says I'll only run to this state or I'll only run to that state. There's a lot of research that goes into where I run, looking for loads, places where I anticipate getting a good rate going in and coming out. It's just tough right now. There's pros and cons to going everywhere. You can run the Midwest, but you're competing against a lot more trucks. I mean, the Midwest has always been a great place to run. So that's where all these fly-by-night companies, these Chicago-based companies, hang out in the Midwest, and they're driving the rates down in that area. You can still get a good load there, but yeah, I'll still go there if I can find something that makes sense going in there and coming out. But yeah, I don't have any restrictions on that. And Gary Cook says, can you go to New York State? Yes, sir. And I do go. I like running New York. I don't like going in the city, but Buffalo and all of that, I don't mind going in there. Over by Albany's okay. But you got to be careful up there, too. A lot of times there's toll roads involved, which can get really expensive. There's truck stops that have paid parking. You can spend a lot of money for parking. Definitely fuel's more expensive up there. So you have to look at your net revenue. I mean, you can get some good rates, but you may give it all away in tolls and parking and things like that. Now, back to the other question, what is my revenue like? I did a series of about 8 weeks where I showed my revenue. It wasn't great. I would say, generally speaking, I'm in the I'd say probably 4,500 to 5,500 range for gross revenue every week. Some weeks it's a little better. Generally, when all the dust settles at the end of the month, I'm somewhere between 22 and 24,000. Sometimes a little better, sometimes a little under. Um, a lot of people don't realize that my wife has some doctor's appointments I have to attend. I have some doctor's appointments I have to attend. Matter of fact, I got one this Friday I hope I get to go to. I was planning to go to it and take Easter weekend off, but I don't know if I'm going to make it there or not. I may have to reschedule it. But sometimes that stuff interferes with how much I can run in a month. May, I've got a grandkid graduating high school, things like that. So um, sometimes life gets in the way, but generally speaking, I can be home uh, once or twice a week and still do 22 to 24,000 a month in revenue. Obviously, in theory, there's more you could make. I'm leaving money on the table, but I've always thought it was important to have a good work-life balance, and I'm pretty happy with that part of it. It's just, man, it's when I bid $2,000 on a load, and somebody doesn't come in and bid 1,900, they come in and bid 1,200. How do you even compete with that? They just cut you in half at the knees, and I would say to all of you, if you're negotiating rates, don't come in at half price of the other guy. Come in $50 under him. Try to make some money because the next thing he's going to do, you take that load for $1,200, he's going to tell everybody, "Well, I've been having guys haul it for $1,200," and you've just handicapped every other driver, and there's no sense in it. I don't care if your truck's paid off and you can make a profit at that level. Why would you want to do it that cheap when there's more money to be made? But yes, short answer to your question, I can go to New York State. I've got the New York sticker and all of that. And I've got the Elite Pass or whatever it is where it does all the toll roads and scale houses and all of that. Oh, you guys have been active tonight. We're at an hour and 43 minutes. This is a lot of them. We struggle to get an hour, but here tonight, y'all have done good keeping it going. Um, let's flip this around though. Tell me what some things are y'all are doing to make it right now. Have any of you gone to a life of crime? Alrighty, just a few more seconds and then we'll cut out of here if we don't get anything else. I sure appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, I know we'll get a lot of you in the replay. May have to start doing a Sunday show. It seems like it did pretty well this afternoon. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up and get out of here. Appreciate everybody being here. And just to irritate my detractors, y'all have a good night.